Historical Review Board hearing for April 6, 2026, and it is 6 o'clock.
As I walked out, there was someone outside that was just talking about it. She was all excited about it.
Revision myself.
And then Holly helped me out with an article in the.
Nice to see.
Oh, good.
Word of mouth.
Nice.
Made it all over the county.
Good.
Yeah. When the line types like, oh, ow. Yeah. I'm having a hard time with the whole digital signal. I know.
Yeah, it was funny that somebody got out of the bookstore, put it on Facebook, and it was timing, and I got it.
That's so great, because I couldn't be there.
I was just there, I watched the whole thing.
Really? Canary Islands?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Pretty cool.
How was that?
It was really cool. It was about minutes. It was like, no, some. But it was nice. It was just like high storm seas and stuff. It was just really fun.
Some good wines?
Yes.
Just great wines.
Yeah.
Are we, is everybody ready? I'm going to call to order the Mendocino Historical Review Board meeting of April 6th. Karen Waldman, if you'd be willing to call the roll.
Yes, and it is 6:02 p.m.
For Chair Holly Madrigal
Here.
and Vice Chair Lopez.
Here.
And Alan Taylor is absent by pre-arrangement. And Justine Herbert here and Deirdre Lamb.
Here.
And for the record, Mendocino County Planning and Building staff, Jesse Waldman is president and presenting and acting as executive secretary.
We thank you.
And was proper notice established for the meeting? Proper notice has been established. Okay, so item number 4 is the approval of the minutes of March 2nd. Does anyone have any comments or?
Motion to.
Go and move?
Yeah, approve.
We have a motion to approve, any seconds?
I'll check it out.
I think I'm gonna not vote on that one because I was not here. Roll call please. All right, so all in favor, let's go with Justine Herbert.
Hi.
And Julian Lopez.
Yeah.
And Deirdre Lamb.
Hi.
And
I'm abstaining from that one.
abstain is Holly Madrigal. And absent is
Alan Sanders.
Thank you. Okay, item number 6 is public expression. The board welcomes participation in its meetings. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person and not more than 10 for a subsequent agenda item, so that everyone may be heard. Public expression items are limited to matters under the jurisdiction of the review board that are not on today's meeting agenda, and items that were not previously considered by the board. Is there anyone here to speak to public expression, something not on the agenda?
Quick, nice here, this corresponds with that.
All right. So my name is Kelly Rhines. I'm a local architect. I was first acquainted with the review board about 40 years ago. My parents bought a house on Ukiah Street. And then my dad was subsequently on the review board. And for about the last 30 years, I've been an architect in this town. And so I've done the review board a lot. I don't say that as a brag, I just say that because I got some experience with the review board. Initially, everyone, there's a hysterical review board. There are all kinds of names for the review board. There's a lot of dissension in town. It's a controversial thing. But I think it's come to be kind of accepted. But at the same time, the attendance at review board meetings is drastically less than it used to be. In fact, there was a meeting on this site, at St. Anthony's Hall about 35 years ago when it was all one big site, and they were, talking about the development of it. The place was packed with people. People were screaming at each other. Best friends were calling each other names. It was amazing. We went there, my mom told me we should go down to this review board meeting because it's quite the entertainment here in this town. And, I was a 20-something kid, and I thought it was entertaining. But over the years, as an architect and just living around here, getting older, I've come to appreciate what the review board does. You know, you serve an essential role, and the main role is keeping the character of this town, right? And so that's why last month I was surprised when there was a project who was asking to remove a chimney, and it was approved. I've been involved with several remodels of historic buildings where there is standard protocol. If you remodeled and didn't use your chimney anymore, which most of these houses don't, you had to build a faux chimney up on top because that was a character-defining element of this town. For some reason, over 35 years, the character-defining elements of this town apparently changed. Or you guys have lost track of what your job is. I think that you see yourselves, and I blame this on the chair previous, was in town, who turned the historical review board into an architectural review board. This is not an opinion poll, it's not a popularity contest, it's historical analysis of projects. You shouldn't be worried about how many emails you're getting, how much support from the community. You should look through the zoning code, you should look through the design guidelines, and you should see that there are certain rules that are written basically in stone. Let me just go through a couple things in the zoning code. The review board, whose function is to preserve the architecture and character of the historic district, whose duties are to review all applications for development as described in sections blah blah, where responsibility is to protect the landmark status of buildings, ensuring development is compatible with surrounding developments. I don't know. Then I've got another thing, and this is from the design guidelines. The intent of the review board is to preserve and protect the special character and the identity of Mendocino. One more is that on historic structures, very clearly written here, it talks about architectural features in the design guidelines. On historic structures, architectural features should be preserved and restored whenever possible. So a Category 1 building that has a brick chimney should not just be thought like, oh, an inconvenience, the contractor comes in, says it's a pain in the ass, let's get rid of it. And you guys all kowtow to that. And I think that's a huge mistake. The more that this happens, the more that this town is just going to become like every other coastal town. It's going to lose its unique character. It's going to lose all the tourism that you like to come.
Thank you. So I popped over correspondence. Was there any additional correspondence? We received the 2 items from the applicant. Is there any additional correspondence? No additional correspondence. Okay, thank you. Okay, consent calendar, seeing none. We're going to move to item number 8A, which is the public hearing for case number MHRB 2025-0012, Zicklick. I will turn it over to planner involvement to... Sorry, I have a thing for me to briefly introduce the item. This is a request for construction of a new single-family residence with a mini-split heat pump, porches, as well as a gate and fencing, garden shed, and enclosed water storage tank area and driveway. The project includes a variance request for a reduced setback in the front yard at 4th Street for a 6-foot by 12-foot stair system at the property line, and the single-family residence no closer to the front property line than 9 foot. That was 6 inches, not big. 9 foot 6 inches. That was a change that we noted in the site visit on property located at 45091 Calpella Street. Planner Walden, do you want to add to that presentation?
Would you like a presentation for the record?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jennifer Waldman for Mendocino County Planning and Building Services, and as stated, I'm here to present the Mendocino Historical Review Board Application 2025-0012 on Tuesday. And for the record, staff was brought to staff's attention that consistently throughout the submittal of this project and its request, there is a very intense error in the request, as the chair just mentioned. And so I'm going to reread the request with the revised request for the record. And staff did review the original submittal, the first revision, and the second revision to make the actual statement for the record would be as follows. Mendocino Historical Review Board permit request for construction of a new single-family residence with a mini split porches as well as a gate and fencing, a garden shed, an enclosed water storage tank area, and a driveway. The project includes a variance request for a reduced setback at the front yard of Ford Street, County Road 407N, for a 6-foot by 12-foot stair system, no closer to the front yard property line than 9 foot 6 inches. So for the record, that if this is approved, that will be stated in the approval. The site address is located at 45091 Capella Street. The assessor's parcel number is 119234-08. The parcel size is approximately 0.22 acres in size, which is, according to our county records, 9,698 square feet. The project is categorically exempt. The parcel is vacant and it is surrounded on the north-south parcels by Category 1 structures, and on the west side is a non-historical building, Category 4B. It's a post office. And there's been past MHRD permits requested on the site, and the site has never been developed at this time. And within the staff report, for the record, the new single-family residence, as proposed, will have wooden porches. It will be a single-story residence. It will have decks and railing. It will have wood fencing, a new garden shed, a screened water storage tank on a gravel pad, landscaping with compacted gravel pathways, and compacted driveway, and parking areas with the gated access on Capella Street, which is County Road 407B. The windows and doors will be wood. The colors proposed are 2 exterior finished colors, which is consistent with our Mendocino Historical Review Board guidelines and the colors adopted by the board in previous years. There will be a foot access on Ford Street, not the driveway access, but a foot access on Ford Street, and that will include new wood fencing, railing, and stone veneer steps with a retaining wall. And then for the record, in the staff report, the variance will be 9 foot 6 inches. And the site is consistent with the mixed use. Staff found the site to be consistent with the mixed use zoning district, with the request for the variance to the setback on Ford Street, and the lot coverage allowed on the site is 50% and proposed is 22.9%. And there is a lot coverage breakdown in the staff report. And staff is going to jump to the conditions of approval that are recommended within the staff report. Going to condition number 6, where the project is located in the town of Mendocino. It's also in the coastal zone, and a coastal development permit or a coastal development exclusion permit is required. And part of its review process is to have an approved Mendocino Historical Review Board permit, and also it will serve letter from Mendocino City Community Services Districts. The will serve letter has been submitted to the county, and that exclusion permit has been placed on hold pending the events of tonight's hearing. So that's number 6. Number 7 is the landowner, prior to any groundwork, site preparation, and or issuance of any building permit, the landowner shall obtain an encroachment permit to establish, for any work for establishing the residential driveway on Capella Street. Condition number 8 recommended is that the landowner obtain an encroachment permit with the Department of Transportation for any work that may occur in the county right-of-way on Ford Street, specifically for the stair system, should wardening off that area to protect vehicles and workers while they're conducting the stair system on site. None of the stair is proposed off the property, but work may encroach into the right-of-way for a short amount of time. The walkway and driveway surfaces shall be brick, flagstone, board, grass, sand or gravel, and gravel, asphalt, and concrete are not acceptable. For the record, the Department of Transportation has often approved a road-use asphalt encroachment of 15 feet rather than 25 feet, and they have reviewed this proposal for both the stairs and the driveway, and they had no further recommendations other than the 8. Fences shall be, number 10 is fences shall be made of wood. Solid fences are discouraged except where they are necessary for screening, parking, and/or storage, and chain link fences, metal fences, concrete block, plastic, fiberglass, or plywood fences are not acceptable. Concrete or smooth concrete block are not acceptable. And that is there. There will be a solid fence over 6 or around 6 feet tall that will be screening the proposed water storage tank that's on the northeast side of the lot and is in the least visible area of the property. That would be closer to Capella Street on the northeast side. And then number 11, for the record, exterior building permits, exterior building materials shall not include any imitation and synthetic materials such as aluminum, vinyl siding, imitation stone, imitation brick, plastic, laminated beams, concrete block or board, stucco, or asbestos shingles or panels or plywood. And as proposed today, the project is consistent with condition 11. Staff wants to just point out that during the public noticing, staff did receive 2 comments that were posted and made available online. And they were actually from the agent who's been overseeing this project for the landowners. And the first public comment, excuse me for a minute, I forgot to get myself a copy of them. For the record, I apologize for my unpreparedness. The public record was specifically, after reviewing the staff report, the agent wanted just to state clearly that the proposed driveway is off of Capella Street, the pedestrian entry is off Ford Street, and the revised plot plan submitted on February 23rd, 2026. On page 16 of the posting packet, the Zicklers will not be building a new gate or proposing a gate off of Ukiah Street. It will just be the wooden fence as proposed. And then public comment number 2 from the agent was a 3D generated visual representation of what they are proposing. Here is the 3D rendering that was submitted for the record. Is this image right here. And then this is the revised site plan that is partial. It does not include where the driveway is, and it does not include the water storage tank, the heat pump, or the garden shed. But what it does is it eliminates the walkway that was proposed in the earlier part of February, which the date is on the site plan that is in the staff report. But it eliminates that walkway. That's what this real intention is. And also, if you look through the site footage, you can see it's 9'6" and not 9'8". And so staff recognized that was a staff error. And then they also, on that February 23rd revision, they wanted to show the elevation of the proposed access off of Ford Street. So you would see that in the west elevation. And then they did an enlarged detail, and that was all part of the hearing packet, the original hearing packet that you did see. And then they also did a south elevation, kind of a cut through of the south elevation of the building, but showing that walkway where they're proposing a wooden picket style fence. And just for the record, also the DOT comments that have been reviewed are included in the staff report for the record. Should there be any questions about what the conditions 6, conditions 7 and 8 are, but that all the revisions have been reviewed and no other comment has been submitted at this time. I will be checking my county email during the rest of this presentation, should I have received any emails, in case they are present or if they are present, and the agent is here available for any questions that you may have. And that concludes my presentation. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Walnut? Go ahead.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Jesse. Okay, so I'm wondering, because we've had 2 projects recently where we've approved the project and then 2 or 3 months later it comes back to us for the coastal commission, but then I thought I heard something, we had a site visit that was wrapped up into one, so I'm just curious, is that wrapped up into one, or are we gonna have to review this again?
You will not have to review this again, and the reason why is that the town of Mendocino has a specific categorical exemption ordered and has been worked with the Mendocino County Planning and Building as well as the California Coastal Commission, where under certain criterias for developing certain types of uses on a property, you may be exempt from a coastal development permit, and this site is one of them. And that being that they're proposing a single-family residence, so it will not be re-referred to the board. If it was a standard coastal development permit, it would come back. We're trying to get those all aligned at the same time. Unfortunately, staff is not able to control what the applicant does, or is willing to do, to have them be all at the same time. And so we try to encourage them,
Right, so in this
But
case.
this
so
case
thank
we
you,
will
that's my
not.
question. You answered my question.
unless they come back with complete revisions, which I don't foresee that happening, but I can't predict the future.
Any other questions for Planner Walnut? Okay. The applicant is here as well as the agent. Did you want to add anything to the record?
I am Deborah Lennox, the agent for the applicants, and mostly I want to introduce Armin and Tovia Zicklick, who are here with us today. So I'm going to be speaking for them, but we'll be able to confer and make sure that any questions that you have that aren't obvious on the plans are answered. We have brought in a few more, so they're not really submittals, but just support for the concepts, which are the visuals of the other buildings in town. They have a similar appearance to them in order to encourage that we're maintaining the historical nature of the architectural form. So that's my interest in an architect with a brand new building is to use the vocabulary of the town of Mendocino, but use it in new ways because it's a new building. I don't believe in mimicking the historical buildings, because then I think that detracts from their value as unique assets to this town. But I do feel like the past few projects that I've worked on in the town, we've used the vocabulary successfully and have created a livable, also very attractive base of architecture for Mendocino. So I welcome your questions, and I thank you for your time today. Thank you once again. You want to ask them something?
Hold tight for a second. Are there any questions of the agent?
Can we ask questions after the public talks, or?
Yes.
Yes.
I think this is the time to ask her questions.
But we can ask her a question after. Yeah.
Okay, I guess there's no questions currently. Can you get her?
You know what, actually I did have one, sorry.
I was wondering,
You guys came 2 months ago to ask for our
Yeah.
advice, right? Did you change anything in the original plans after our,
we did.
could you describe what you did change?
Sure, in fact, I'm happy to because I feel like it made the project better and I really appreciated that process for the future. We came as a non-agenda item to get sort of a feeling for the mass of the building on the site. And your feedback really helped us with that, but then the secondary amount of feedback, we changed, there was a concern that the west elevation was too long and too much like a ranch look. So we took our entryways and completely redesigned, and it pops out and has more of that Mendocino perpendicular gable effect. So I think it breaks up that elevation a lot more. It's hard to see in elevation, which is why we did the 3D rendering. But this part was just a little small open porch before, and it kind of didn't break the line. But now that it's a volume that pops out, and we also rotated the entryway so that when you and we moved that staircase that Jesse was talking about here. This staircase aligned with this little porch before, and by moving the staircase down, when you come up off of 4th Street, you're not like immediately looking at this front door. You have a little breathing room, and you're kind of more looking into space, but then you can see that the doorway is right there to your left, and so you kind of, it's more of a meander to the front door than a straight shot. So I think that improved the project a lot. And then also this little entryway that got enclosed, it's all like a little glass pop-out, which I think refers to quite a few entryways in town that have a little glass mudroom. So that was a really effective change, and we could have done it without to keep that. So thank you. I think those were the main changes that we made in place.
And then the path no longer going out on Ukiah Street.
Well, we put the path out to Ukiah Street because we thought, oh, the Newport wants the path to Ukiah Street, but then we're like, but we don't want to go out to Ukiah Street. We want people to come to 4th Street to come in, and this is Arden's garden, and Jovia's wildflowers, and so this area is really more thought of being landscaping, and one of the things we haven't addressed was much of the landscaping. So there'll be more landscaping coming along, and there's a whole landscaping hedge of that passion flower that's really creating a space here for the property. And I feel like this corner now on the lot, you can kind of go around the corner, and we're also trying to respect the Garfinkel's space as far as I know their view is like that. So we kind of pushed it back in their view, but we didn't push it so far back that this will pop out here as a window from their dining room, so they can still see out that way. But pretty much the location of the building has shifted a little bit towards 4th Street and back away from 4th Street. So I think when we first saw it was a little bit further that way, and we missed back that way. So.
And you mentioned the front door, you could see the front door, you said. Did you guys have discussions about putting the front door at the front
No, this
of the property? So like, where the driveway was, where all the other houses on Capella Street are facing?
So we're thinking of the front of this as Ukiah Street. It goes all the way through. The address is Capella Street, and that's where the driveway is. But to the Zicklicks, that's the back of their house. So we're in the mid, we're right in the middle. And so at this point, if you come in the driveway, you can just walk around the side to go in, and then they can come in park and go around the back door, which is really, the back door is technically facing to the east, and the front is facing to the west. But this little pop out in the south elevation here, this little pop out, it tells a pop out is really a dining room. So and the floor plan, this whole part of the building is vaulted ceiling, and there's a little pop out here. So this is more personal space for the family, and then the public space would be coming toward the post office, which is a very busy street now, and because there's this distance to Ukiah Street, this becomes more of a garden. You don't see on here, but there is a little garden shed, so it kind of, starting to speak to the garden shed, gardens and putting more plantings.
And with all the examples you brought with the decking, those are just examples from around town?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like those houses and the majority of homes in Mendocino, the front door is underneath the gable, the defining gable of what makes all of these amazing homes in Mendocino. The front door is present there.
well,
So
I didn't take pictures of the ones that aren't, but there are plenty that enter on the side. So we could do another presentation. This presentation here was supposed to be referring to the shape of the deck and how that deck relates proportionally to the triangle above. So there's a similar proportion, and I mentioned it at the site visit, but I didn't even realize that this is my current office here. But this building, which is the Sandpiper Jewelry, has the same deck configuration with the stairs in the back, and the entryway to this building is on the side, or through the side here. The entryway to this is on the off center here. I'm the only one with the center entrance. So there's many different entrance configurations in Mendocino.
And what year was that built?
Pardon me?
What year was that built?
Well, I texted my landlady, and she's not positive. She said it was a brothel that burned down in the early 1900s, and so it was rebuilt in the early 1900s. Yeah. And this is the original building. And then I think this building was built in the 70s, and then this was a garage. So the original old building is this, but it's not the original, but it is from the 1900s. So it's not recent, and it's that kind of relatively historical structure. And a lot of these, this is the Circa building, which I think is another one that's very close to what we're doing here. And then this one here, which is the little wine tasting shop, there's a little window there. There's no way to get to this deck. So this has an example of a deck with a window, and whereas this is a deck with a door. And so there are many. So the point of this is there's many different configurations. I think that's the answer to your question. And if one is to look at entryways, you could do that too.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open the public hearing for this item. Before the public hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a question about the stairs and the gate. So what material are the stairs going to be that are on
So
4th
there's-
Street?
So there's on the elevation sheet, if you put one, I don't know what number it is, there's a picture of there's a stone veneer. It's an actual stone from SBI user I got off their website. So
Right, so it's gonna be
stone,
yeah.
wall.
Okay.
And then the railing and the fence are wood.
Oh, I just read. But
Okay, thank you. So, Janice,
May I request the presentation that Deborah Lennox brought with the 6 photos? Could that be sent to staff for the record?
sure.
Thank you.
And that was a request by the board for examples, so it's very handy to see the different spots around town. So I will be opening the public hearing. The review board welcomes participation in its meetings. If you'd like to speak on the Ziegler application, please use the podium, state your name for the record. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person, and speakers are asked to address their comments to the board, and staff will announce when you have 30 seconds remaining. First up, would anyone like to speak to this item? Go ahead.
All right. Referring back to the town zoning code, you got standards that the review board is supposed to abide by. And A, size, forms, material, textures, and colors shall be in general according to the appearance of structures built in Mendocino prior to 1900. And they're not asking to, replicate stuff, only that the construction be compatible with and not in disharmony with the architecture standards expressed herein. All activities subject to this chapter shall relate to the area in which it is located through texture, size, proportion, height, form, style, siting, And then it says architecture, size, materials, details, proportion, height. Okay, then if I go to the design guidelines, they talk about building design, they talk about scale and proportion. The height, width, the general proportions of a building shall conform with other buildings in the surrounding neighborhood. Secondary buildings shall not overwhelm the primary structure on the lot. So it seems just, a couple of excerpts from the code and the design guidelines, it seems like scale, proportion is obviously an important aspect of everything that we do here. I love this design. This is a challenging lot. I think they've been very creative. I think the access off of Ford Street, like you were asking about, the front door is underneath the gable. And that's totally appropriate response. To have the gable coming off the side of the main gable, and have that as a smaller gable, and have that the entrance. I love these pictures. They show you a 3-story commercial building, 2-story commercial building, 2-story commercial building, 2-story commercial building, 2-story residence. This is actually the residence that my parents first bought when we moved here. And this was a window. They get out onto this little deck here that was the overhang. It wasn't really a deck, it was just the roof. But, over the years it's been converted into a deck. You had to crawl out the window. Some people have converted those second floor windows into doors to get access. Okay? This right here, the middle one, this is a residence, 2-story. These are all 2-story examples. This is a 1-story house. I love it. 1-story house. It's appropriate, fits in with the scale. I don't understand this 2-story deck up here with an exterior staircase. I see this, it's similar. It's just as non-historical as this one. But the access is from the second floor. There is no exterior staircase. I don't understand what this is. I can understand down on Main Street, you got a bunch of second floor decks. Hell of a view down on Main Street. I don't know what you're looking at here. You're going to be looking at the parade, you're going to be looking at the market. It's out of scale, it's out of proportion with the rest of the house, which is exceptional. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this item? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back up here. I just wanted to echo some of the comments that we've heard earlier today, which is that, it's not for this board to put our design preferences, which I know can be tempting because we have strong design feelings, but rather to look at the application as proposed and to ensure and use our judgment to ensure that it is in keeping with the historical character of Mendocino. And we don't get a lot of these, you had mentioned, we don't get a lot of new construction. So this is, I just want to assure everyone to take this very seriously. So I will bring it back up here and ask my fellow members if you have any comments.
I have comments.
Yeah.
I think this is a new build, so that's something distinct from preserving an historic structure. So there's some variances here that I'm willing to allow for a new build. The main comment I have, I wouldn't deny this application for this reason, but I'm just making the comment that Ford Street, the post office block is really busy, a very busy area, and people are pulling in and out of there constantly, 5 days a week. So I just question the safety of having a staircase that goes right down into that area where everyone's pulling in and out constantly. So that surprised me to see that. And there's no pathway, so it's kind of just a gutter and it's very pitted, and I'm just making the comment that it doesn't seem like the safest configuration for the residents. And I also don't think people would necessarily leave that open for you. They would still want to pull in there. There's also limited sight lines when you pull out of the diagonal across the street. It's actually quite difficult to see if there's pedestrian walking. You really have to have your head on a swivel. So I'm just talking about that. That surprised me. You can do whatever you want here, but I'm just making that comment.
You can go. Did you guys have anything on that?
Yeah, I just want to comment that
You're welcome. Yes.
I know that Deborah can tell a whole lot of time between the site view and this meeting, but I happen to know of a lot of houses that are residential that have decks on the second floor. So, my neighbors across the street, we approved
Yep.
a deck for them,
Decks with staircases, I think should be.
decks with staircases, and then, yeah, they didn't put a door on the top floor, that's their house. So, but then,
Main Street or something?
it's on Ukiah Street. Yeah, and then, Dan Potash has a second floor, stairway. Since I've been on the board, Michael and Kelly, Barrett, they added a second story balcony to their, house, which is across from, well, it's yoga now, but it used to be Mendocino. And you can't really say this is a little setback, but I did on my way in between the site visit drive, and I'm like, oh, well, you don't really even notice it, but it's a nice thing to have a deck, be able to look at, view of the ocean, and, my house where I live in has a deck that looks at the ocean, so I'm not, for me, I feel like, yeah, that's a nice feature that a lot of houses seem to have, so that they can enjoy the beauty of the environment. So I just wanted to put that out there. That I think that maybe if the applicant had more time, she could even find more examples that were not commercial.
So, I first wanted to just welcome you guys to the community, and I really do appreciate you coming up and putting all the time and effort into designing this and wanting to build it and bring, new energy to the town. It's great. It's funny that Kelly mentioned the code, because I actually highlighted the code that said sizes, forms, materials, textures, and colors shall be in general accord with the appearance of structures built in Mendocino prior to 1900. I think I like the design of the entire house. I'm just stuck on the second story deck, and it's a scale issue. The deck is too large for what the house is. It's rimming on the outside of the roof. I think that it's important to know that the homes in this town, when they were built single story, that upper story where the window is used to be attic space. And then when the people had families, the kids would live upstairs, and then when they got older, or maybe they had made more money, they would build a deck out there and then they would access it through the window. But it would not be in excess of the roof. It would just be an area to go outside and drink a cup of coffee or look at the ocean. I think that I would be much more likely to approve this if the deck was smaller in scale and accessible from the inside. I just think that the amount of railing and posts that are going around the house and up the staircase and everything, I just think it's not. I don't think it's what was built here prior to 1900, and I think that we have the opportunity to be able to allow these people to build a house that will reflect Mendocino, and I just think that it's blown out of proportion to what I think Mendocino houses should be, especially if we have the opportunity to dictate what the house is going to look like. Not with our own personal design, right? We're not telling them, hey, you should be painting it this color or putting the post here because it looks better. I just think it's a scale thing. And I think that we all should think about that. And I think we should all reflect on it. And I'd like to hear what you guys think about that, because as it is right now, I would not be feel comfortable voting yes on this.
So I have a different opinion, and this could be informed by the fact that I do remember a prior application for this site that took up way more lot coverage, and it was full two-story, situation. So especially when I look at this one and I look at the places nearby that are full two-story, kind of to the max height-wise, I feel like this is a reasonable scale. But it's,
It's the deck scale to the roof.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying. I think I love the scale of the house. I love how quaint it is. It's small.
Yeah.
It's just the deck to the roof. Like you're missing the entire gable, which is what
Yeah.
makes this all the gables in this county are visible, and they're very defined. I mean, look at the house right behind, right behind here. You can see the gable. It goes all the way down, and here it's just
Yeah.
completely blocked by the deck.
But also, there is the examples of the other, and you're right that there is some variation in entrance to the deck or stairs to the deck, but
Two-story buildings, though.
Right.
Two-story buildings.
I'm just kind of, that's just me.
Okay.
It's because it comes out of the sides and goes in.
Exactly.
That's kind of the different thing about it, because you're gonna see it, as you walk around the structure, you'll see that it's a wraparound type. So it does give it a bulkier look, side of the
Exactly. And like I said, I think I'd be open to having the decks trimmed down a little bit,
A little
so that
shallower,
you don't see them.
I think that if this side was trimmed, then you wouldn't be able to have enough walkway to get the stairs on this side, so then it would be
How they
half a deck.
accessible from the inside, like the majority of the homes
But
in
the
this town.
inside's a two-story vaulted ceiling.
Yes, there's no floor.
There's no floor. There's no floor. You can't put a door to nowhere.
I thought that was an attic.
So then nix the deck.
No, they have,
So then nix the deck.
well,
It's not meant to be there. If it was a two-story home, fine. I just think that it's a real sticking point
I
for
thought it
me.
was an attic space.
That's usually how they were built back in the day.
Yeah,
And I
Julie
thought
was saying
Jessica
that-
told me that it was an attic space, because I asked about what's going on with the upper level.
I don't think there's a window in the attic space. I thought it was a two-story.
It's just a vaulted ceiling.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
the applicant said that it's a vaulted ceiling.
Okay, then I'd be happy to make some clarification for what I've heard.
That'd be great.
So we'll start with the vaulted and two-story versus one-story. These buildings in Mendocino, I'm going to go ahead and keep using this example because the staircase is on the side. So there is a staircase to that deck. This deck has no staircase and it's just a little window. So these Mendocino houses back in the day, as you were saying, this was an attic. So this isn't a full two-story. These are not two-story houses. They're really like a story and a half at best. And sometimes they'll have a pony wall, which is what we did on Kavanaugh. We put a pony wall so it feels like an attic, but you have more headroom. So this apartment barely has any headroom at all because it's a historical structure. And the same thing with this one. They probably dug it out. The only part where you're not going to bang your head is in the center. So that they're not really two-story. This is a three-story building. So the idea of stories is in the code. And so these are really story and a half. So just to clarify the idea that you're having a two-story building with a balcony outside, as Kelly was saying, they were porches they would crawl out on, and then they put railings around them. So in the Ziegler home, just to give you a little background for how we ended up here, it is a vaulted space in the front. This is a single-story space with it faces south, so we're trying to get light into the building to come into the back. So the more glass you have, the better. And when you have a porch, you end up having shade over your direct sun. And in the Kavanaugh's room, the partly shaded. But this corner in particular, and perhaps as Kelly was saying, oh, you get to look at the Mendo Market. Well, on the first floor, you're looking at the Mendo Market. Then when you get up on the second floor on that balcony, you'll be able to see the rooftops of Mendocino. And for residents to be able to get up and away from the traffic from 4th Street and Bucaya Street and go down and possibly in an ocean people viewing was one of the reasons why this portion of the deck was very important. And then we have the nook, the little breakfast nook where Armin likes to sit with his computer and look out at everything and have a little more sunshine because you have less deck shading it. That was very important again. And then get out of the kitchen onto the deck for having picnics and whatnot, and get down to the garden. So this whole front part of the south elevation it's active with where everything is coming out, and there just wasn't an idea of putting a staircase inside. It would then have to go outside. It creates a whole, it takes this whole space and takes up a big chunk of your indoor space, which we've got a 1,500 square foot house right now, so we have to take, again, this 12 by 8 and another 90 square feet of that would have to be a staircase if you're going to get up.
Deborah, can I clarify something? That if you did bring in the railing on the left, it would then be lopsided, right? I'm sorry, on the south west corner. If you brought in the balcony, the upper balcony on the southwest corner, it would then be lopsided, right? Because you need the extension past the roof line with
Well,
stairs.
absolutely, and it doesn't show in this elevation. In fact, we should have done it different earlier, but this portion is set back, so it doesn't go all the way across flat. It is completely symmetrical. And then this railing for the staircase is set back, so I think the issue is the staircase. If we took the staircase off, I don't know, that would be very similar to that, but we also, this one goes beyond the corner of where the rastic comes down, so it's very similar, and then it goes beyond. We could probably bring it back a tiny bit, but one staircase now it means that it's 36 inches. Back in the day, if you look at various towers, where this staircase is 2 feet wide, we can't do that anymore. So that's part of trying to use the vocabulary in a modern way. And, so the reference to the other balconies, if you look at the Lisbon house, this balcony, it has a definite presence all the way around. And so balconies definitely have a presence, and this has a presence. The other part about it that you don't see in this is that little shed, the little garden shed up here in the southeast corner. When you're down on Bucaya Street, that little shed is going to screen a portion of this deck. Here, the shed will go right here. So you won't even see this because it'll be behind the garden shed. And that's this shed open over here. So there's a little building in front of this staircase. So I guess my pitch for the deck is that we're trying to get from over here to this is the spot where there might be some ocean view. If we go all the way back to here, it's going to diminish it, and I don't know how to maybe be all lopsided. So how do we get up there without it looking lopsided? Because right now it's actually symmetrical and it lines up. And then also, this is a mixed-use lot, so it's possible in the future it could end up being converted to commercial space. We don't know, but at this point, the reference to having a single-story residential residence, to me, is a positive thing, because as Holly was saying, the previous approved, it was actually approved building was a 2-story shingle building with a big screen porch that stuck out, and then this elevation had a very strange off-kilter gable on it. I don't know how that got approved, and I started out looking at that, and wow, we're gonna do better than this. So I feel like this is really worked hard on making this fit into the vocabulary of the town, but I don't know why everyone is feeling like the deck is out of scale, because I don't. Especially when you have 20 different examples of different configurations and different styles of deck all through Mendocino. And I would conclude that it is not the intent of these guidelines to return the town to a bygone era, nor is it the intent to create an artificial atmosphere or invite mimicry that will only caricature the past. intent is to preserve and protect the special character and identity of Mendocino. And I stated identity for Mendocino is a variety and excitement of seeing these different types of solutions using the same elements. And that's what we've been trying to do for it.
I have a question about, did you actually ever have a discussion about, maybe it's because it's all this white, the white deck. I mean, I've seen a number of decks that have been put on that were unfinished, and I know that for past, we just encouraged some unfinished. Was that ever a conversation?
The previous.
Because maybe that would make it look a little less deck, and then kind of weather was the, I don't know.
I know that Arnon and Julia would be perfectly happy with this being all natural. I think that they'd like the deck painted, the railings painted as natural.
Yeah, because it would make it
But
fade
would
back.
that make a difference if it was natural? Because I've had this rendering with it natural and white and different.
It's just, I know that the building a couple doors down, that those, the railings with the white and the banisters, I don't know if you have a picture of that one, but no, I don't think you do, the prefab house, those white banisters up there, I mean, they drive me crazy every time I see them. And maybe it's the
Well,
white,
that's a
I don't
change we
know.
would totally be able to make right here now. That would
Yeah,
help
it was a
natural
natural color, and then it kind of weathered into the.
because we did consider having.
I'm still set on
You still want.
the scale. I don't care if it's white, natural, red, yellow.
I could accept the natural. I'm trying to think of like a natural would, sort of disappear more in a way. I'm trying to think, I mean, most kids,
I think
the
the
mass-
back more definitely.
Yeah.
White is always in the forefront, and
I think it's important also to talk about that there's a porch on the bottom that wraps around the house, and then there's a porch on top that wraps around the house. There's no examples of that in town. There's no examples that she brought that have two porches up and down, covered, on top of each other, that wrap around the house, that wrap around the gable. Do you see what I'm saying? I just think it's just out of scale. It's like if you want to have a house with a deck and a second story deck, don't build it in Mendocino where we pride our Victorian style houses. And I just think that, wrapping a deck, and then next thing we're gonna know, we're gonna have a deck around the entire roof, you know what I mean? I just think that it's,
I don't see the natural.
well, it wraps from the staircase, so it goes around to the west, east side of the property.
So would it be better?
Does that make sense?
So would you want us to move or have the staircase be a straight run? I mean, we could adjust the staircase design. I just feel like it would be not good to change the symmetry of the porch this night.
I think, it's not, it may not be exactly like another one in town, but I don't think it detracts, historically. It is sort of using the same, the same things. We don't have. Yeah, I could be on board with the natural, natural treatment.
I could be on board with that. It would weather and it would kind of just,
So do you like the railings natural too, or just the posts and the horizontal?
the whole thing.
Yeah, I think the decking.
The decking and the horizontal beams and the posts, right? So what about the railing?
Oh, definitely the railings as well.
So Arnold and Toby, are you hearing these changes that are, what do you think? Are you really, the white, really,
No, what we said for the deck, we were indifferent, whatever.
yeah, we went back and forth about whether it should be natural white, so that's something we've already discussed. Anything else that's cheated again, we need to.
I mean, we've approved a number of things lately, such as the Trillium outdoor thing, and I just feel like you can kind of add things to historic structures that are natural that make it feel like it's not so glaring. So I don't know. I mean, I know that's not a railing or anything, but I've seen Bex have it on, so I don't know. That's just my opinion on that.
Justine, to you?
Or with anyone, and I understand that, Julia, that you're not on board with this, but with anyone, and I should also say,
I
just
think
from
it's
the
important.
get-go,
I think it's important. Sorry to cut you off, but she said that in the corner there, they're gonna get might get an ocean view. I mean, we're not building homes in here to catch ocean views, we're building homes to improve, to make them, historically correct for the town.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the whole reason why the deck's up there, so that they can chase a ocean view. And that to me is the antithesis of what we're trying to uphold here,
I think that description was explaining how they came up and decided they did. They're trying to make the most.
I mean,
out
for
of it.
me, okay, I've been on this board with two, in fact, the last design that got approved, I called it the McMansion, it was a lawyer, and he decided he was gonna build his McMansion down in Napa, and he's like, okay, good. But it got approved, and it was huge, and it would have been this massive thing. He wanted to emulate the houses on Doctor's Road, and make exactly that right there, and so I feel like this is kind of a nice, kind of tiny little house. I don't
I just wanted to
think it's
mention one thing.
how many square feet is it? 1,200? 1,500?
Yeah, I just want to mention one other thing, just for those who don't know how these meetings work, is because it comes missing. If it's a tie, if our vote was a tie, then it would not happen. Is that correct, Mayor Waldman? If that, or it would, right? Just because we have a 4-member board this evening instead of
if
5.
it's a tie, it would be denied.
Okay, I just want to make sure that was upfront.
Because they could ask for continuance.
Yes, but if it seems like we're close to consensus with the change of the deck being natural wood instead of painted white, would anyone be interested in making a motion?
If I may, through the chair,
Yes.
prior to a motion being made, staff has to say 4 things.
Okay.
Okay. The codes and references to the design guidelines and to the county code, that have been stated are consistent. Specifically, one area of the design guidelines that is discussed in the staff report is on page 6 of the Mendocino Historical Review Board guidelines. It's section 6 for site development guidelines, and I feel that needs to be stated with all of the discussion that's been going on. The historical district, in addition to what other commenters have said today, the historical district has a rectangular block pattern with narrow edges of property lots facing the street. The key design element is the diversity of structures. The major or primary facade of new buildings shall be oriented towards the street and shall be aligned parallel to the neighboring structures. And so interpretation of which street you're talking about, good discussion. I wanted to read that for the record in addition to the other codes. The second item that I would like to comment is that there was an email from a review board member earlier this morning asking for the second floor plan. Staff does not have a second floor plan. Staff does not know, for the record tonight, if there is an attic and or a vaulted ceiling, and that is outside of the purview of the review board. So what is going on inside of the building is not part of the review board's purview, regardless if it's a single story, a 1.5 story, or 2-story structure. Also for the record, what was just mentioned about if there is a tie, for clarity, yes, if it is a tie, the project is denied and the applicant will need to come forward with a new application completely. They do have the option to do a continuance, and I will state from a planning perspective is that revised application, there may be a fee regarding the revised application as well as an additional time due to the cost recovery that's been required with the Board of Supervisors. And I state that just because the applicant, the agent, and the landowners are all aware of that cost recovery. And so it may be an equivalent of the fees for a brand new application or for a revised application, depending on what the revised information comes in. But if it is continued, we wouldn't need to repost it would want to be continued to a date certain. So, I wanted to add those 2 points about cost recovery, reposting, dates certain, should be considered, if anyone was going to ask for a continuance. The last thing is that staff failed to mention a further provision that would be recommended by staff, and that would be in finding number 4, which finding number 4 is about the variance again, and I apologize that I made a 2-inch discrepancy. And so if there is going to be a motion on the table, staff would need it to include the correction and finding number 4 to state 9 to like 6 inches. I apologize about that long 4-point bullet section before a motion is made. If there was going to be an approval motion or a denial motion, you would need to state facts for the denial, and if you were to approve, staff would be including the revision about the 8 inches to 6 inches.
Thank you for that. And good to catch that. Yes, go ahead, Wes.
Should we?
I would like, I'll entertain that, but I want to bring it up here. It seemed like we might be close to consensus with 3 of us.
I'm not sure.
I think it's also important to know that that deck is not, like, all of the examples that she brought were from the front facade. Now that we don't really know where the front is on this house, I mean, I like the house, not, downplaying that, but it's on the side. Show me a house in town that has a deck on the side of the house. It's just, because they're saying the front door is here.
The entrance is going to be on
So-
forward and then the deck.
So all of the decks, second story decks, front facade.
I mean, the Mendocino Hotel has a.
That's a commercial. We have to define commercial and residential, I think.
But also, there's one that can be commercial, it can be both. I mean,
It's a residential house, though.
Yeah, but I mean, it's, the zoning is for it. And to reference what Jesse brought up about the sighting, on the lot, the applicant did come and we talked about that quite a bit, where, justifying it, since it would normally go to one end or the other. We had discussions about why it was appropriate to have it in the middle, given on Port Street. So I just want to say that we did discuss that.
And if I may, if the applicant or agent would like a continuance, staff would recommend June 1st for the next available, but that be sooner than June 1st.
Okay. Okay.
Can I just have a different comment just about the driveway?
Yeah.
Because the driveway does accommodate, let's say, 4 vehicles. It's about 20 feet wide by 50 feet. So that's a variance, that's another variance, because the driveway, a parking area that accommodates 4 or more cars is supposedly unacceptable. Now, I understand why, because it's a narrow lot, and you want to pull your car up to the structure. So it's kind of like that's your conditions that you have to deal with. So that kind of makes for a long driveway to get to the building. But since there's an asphalt slab right next to the pedestrian walkway, it just seems that would be very visible. And I'm wondering if there's other alternatives you could consider to an asphalt slab.
I think it's code. I think by code you have to have asphalt. Okay.
On the street part,
Go ahead.
Planner Muller?
Could you please reference the code you're referring to regarding the variance for parking, excessive parking?
Yeah, I can't find it immediately.
And I might ask the applicant, it looks like it's sort of proposed as like 2 parking spots on the design.
Sorry, it says on MHRB-5, asphalt and concrete are not acceptable
What's that?
on item 9.
I'm sorry, are you referring to the staff report?
Staff
Yeah,
report
she's
for every
referring to
charter
the staff
member.
report,
With us at GOT.
which is
So-
item 9.
Yes, go ahead, Ken Wanda.
So, Department of Transportation, there are certain things we cannot approve, and Department of Transportation, will not approve a gravel encroachment driveway onto a lot coming off of the street. They require it be a hard surface. And for the town of Mendocino, in Mendocino County, off of a county road, it's 25 feet. But they do allow a variance with DOT for 15 feet of hard surface. But I'm very concerned about the parking variance that you were referring to for excessive parking.
You said 4 cars, well, that's
Right.
I think I think the design proposal has space for 2 cars, and then there's space for backing in and turning. Yeah.
I have 20 feet, so I thought it was 20. We were happy to go 15 feet, you know, 20. And it is a DOT requiring that. But we're also
Yeah.
happy to go narrower.
Yeah. Well, it's whatever
We're also
DOT
happy
says.
to go.
We could go narrower, and in fact, I can scribble in trees on this thing while we're sitting here. So, like I said, we haven't put any landscaping in, so the entrance driveway could be narrower. Shows, I don't think it can be any. I thought it had to be 20 feet. It has to be asphalt for DOT. We just did that on this town house on the, this one we have bunch in the house. So, that challenge, that's also in the park. The service.
Yeah, so you can shrink it, but not less than DOT requires. And I did notice, just from the videos, that Calpella could really use some new asphalt on that. I was like,
every street.
it's gonna be nice asphalt to something.
Yeah, so we could break that driveway down. We do want to bring 2 cars, please, leave in parking. We want to go back and turn around and go straight out, which is why it has that little house on the side. But it could be narrower than the 20 feet.
Okay, well, what I was referencing is on page 12 of the Mendocino Historic Review Board Design Guidelines. So on page 12, it says, under commercial parking, it says commercial parking, so that might not apply, but it says development of off-street parking lots, areas in which 4 or more vehicles are parked are deemed inconsistent with historic preservation and shall be unacceptable. So if I took that,
Yeah, I don't think that's being proposed. Parking for 4 is not being proposed in this one.
well, there's definitely room for 4 vehicles.
I think they were, I don't know.
Well, it's 50 feet by 20 feet, which is ample space for 4 vehicles. So I'm just pointing that out. But I'm also acknowledging that because of the siding of the building, it's almost like you have to have
You
a
have to go that far
driveway
in.
that long.
Yeah.
So I'm just sort of commenting that, and the architect said that she's thinking of narrowing it, that's the way to minimize it a little bit.
I mean, having a driveway itself is kind of obscure in town.
Yeah, it's not the common thing to have, well, plenty of people have, we have, kind of dirt gravel driveway that's double wide, but it doesn't go so deep, because it's a half to, but this one kind of does.
Yeah, there's other site features that prevent it from siting closer to Calpella that they're wanting to leave undisturbed. And then also, this isn't required, but they took into consideration the sightlines from the neighboring property.
Right, I mean, I would kind of prefer, but, like, once again, it's like, this is personal preference, but if they have like a single lane kind of driveway going back, and then have space for 2 cars hidden from the road, that would be less visible. You'd only see the width of one driveway going back in, and then you'd have the cars parked probably, this way instead of that way, next to the house. That's one,
I think we're thinking though that the
The Garfield's
width
house is
is-
right to the right here.
Mhm.
So they were trying to figure out how not to park one after another, with the Garfields have their little dining room right here.
But I think to get back to what Planner Waldman says, DOT requires a certain width going in. So I don't think we can shrink much below 15 feet. You know, it's like,
20 feet.
So,
yeah, this
it's
says
like
20, but yeah.
we are talking about two different things.
Okay.
So 15 feet of hardscape surface from the edge of County Road into the property. I believe it is a 20-foot wide requirement with DOT. They may have a variance that allows that. A couple things is thank you, Review Board Member Herbert, for pointing out that parking and egress within the town guidelines. That is specific, the quote that you read for commercial, and there is no commercial proposed on the site. The site is zoned mixed use, and it is required to have 2 parking spaces. Hold on. It is required to have 1.5 parking spaces per dwelling unit, and they are proposing 2 within their written application. And the residential guidelines in the residential parking guidelines say unobstructed spaces or areas within the boundaries of a parcel intended for use by occupants of the structure shall not be located in any front or side yard facing street. Residential parking areas shall be effectively screened with material appropriate to the historical district. So what they do have is they have proposed a fence along Capella Street, and they have proposed a wide driveway to park 2 cars side by side instead of tapered one in front of the other, as well as a turnaround. So just for the record, it's not a residential, and it's not a commercial development, but thank you for pointing out that. And nowhere in our zoning code does it talk about a variance for excessive parking in the review board guidelines. Those are guidelines, not reasons for a variance. And so the variance with the Department of Transportation is really different than parking. So just to clarify, for the record.
Yes, it.
So, I'm getting a sense from the applicant that if it seems like it's not gonna go their way, they would like continuance, but I'd like to explore the idea of having a motion in favor if we think that they're, how that happened.
I mean, are we talking back at the board?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm in favor, but I do think that the railings would look better if they were natural wood.
Okay, so you wanna add this
So
condition?
that's what I would put as a condition.
I mean,
And the correction to
What did
the,
I say? Wait, so
To
you
the-
to say something.
I don't want, 1 second, I'm just clarifying for your motion, the clarification for condition 4 that it's 9 foot 6 inches.
Right. No, I did that.
So you approve, you think everything on the project looks good?
Yeah, I think it would
It's
look
in
great with a natural wood.
accordance to the
Yeah,
guidelines and,
I think so, and
Okay.
especially when you see that railing that goes a little bit over, I mean, you have to kind of.
from the front of the building.
Well, that is the front, I mean, that's what they're considering, sort of the front that's facing Highway Street. That's what everyone's gonna see when you drive out.
You're always gonna see everything, you're gonna see the whole house.
Well, I
It's-
know,
it's-
that's
It's a
true.
really important lot in town.
It is.
It's
I
a
know.
very important lot, it's
It
gonna be
is.
seen by everybody, every day.
That's true, but this seems to fit
and-
with the other houses that go along that street.
It doesn't though, it doesn't.
Well,
The deck doesn't.
right.
The house does. I mean, it's in the middle of the lot, which is like what Jesse was talking about, how, you know, they need to be parallel, and so they asked for it to be in the middle of the lot, which I think is fine, and I think it looks great, but I just think the deck is just out
But
of the
can you
ordinary.
picture the deck if it was a natural wood?
No, I actually don't think that would make it better, to be honest.
Yeah, no.
I think it looks
Okay.
more Victorian, right, with the white, you know,
But then I just
But-
thought it was kind of overkill with the white and the white.
I just think if we're nitpicking colors, I think we're just like maybe just exclude it, right? And then it'll look great, in my opinion.
Justine, how are you feeling on things?
Well, I think, just given that it's a highly visible location, that it's worth it to consider, another design of continuance. Because it is highly visible and everyone sees that a lot. And I think it's worth it at this beginning stage that we consider that.
Can you be specific
What
on
other
like what,
design?
on what?
Well, not another
Good, but-
design, because it's all, we're just talking about these decks,
So just the deck,
just the upper deck.
design of the deck.
It's really just the upper deck. the
I
upper deck.
agree with that.
So that's, I'm just echoing what Julian has said as far as the, kind of the scale and the overall look. I'm just thinking that since it is so visible in town, that it's worth it to consider it, just to have the different, another.
They'd like to break ground on their property though. I
Well,
mean,
that's
we
true,
have,
but
like,
we're
nice
the
view,
board,
but they-
we can
we're not gonna
ask.
be able to, they're not gonna be able to submit it till June.
So if we can hold on for just a second. So what I'm thinking about from the applicant's point of view is that they, have come up with a design and brought it for us for feedback, and then heard our feedback about finding other examples in the town of this design, these design elements. And they brought those back. We have examples of these design elements within the town. And so my concern would be if we're asking them to bring something back again, that it's,
I don't think last time we asked. you to
let's let me
bring-
finish that. I don't think, how would we, what would we be, we're asking them to get rid of the upper deck, which I don't see the basis for that, given the other examples that they've shown in town.
I see where you're coming from. I
Right,
totally
like-
understand it would be an
like
extreme,
continue,
it
but
would
then
be an
put the-
extreme inconvenience. But I mean, if we had asked them last time to bring examples, they would have submitted it to the record. But they just submitted it this last second. They printed this out and put it up there.
Well, because of the site view.
Well, let's
Well, no, because she's referring to what the information that we gave them the last time they came in. And the deck was mentioned. And they fixed a lot of the other things that we had mentioned too, like the size of the gable, the front door, and I think the
But if
walk.
they came back, it sounds like if they don't get rid of the deck, then you're not gonna improve it, the second story deck, is that
No. What I mentioned was, it's a scale issue.
right?
If you shrink the deck up, it won't look like a ranch
But
house
somehow they have to
fishing
get
for
the deck,
views.
so they have.
Fishing for views.
Deidre, let's let,
Yeah.
No, I think I'm
Finish
finished.
it.
Fishing for a view, blocking the gable, losing that Mendocino Victorian gable look and I understand that the commercial buildings that they brought, have examples of it. But this is a very unique case, and I think it takes away from it. And I think that if they were to bring back something to scale for a single-story house,
with the deck.
Well,
Yeah,
with the deck.
If I've got a question, if they're gonna have stairs to get to the deck, which they have to, then you're saying cut off the deck here and then it would be lopsided, so, because they have to have the stairs.
well, it sounds like then maybe
Otherwise, they're gonna get
if
the-
they can't make
They're
that
not gonna
work,
get to the deck.
well, no, that's why we're having them maybe redo the designs, because if they can't make that work, then maybe there shouldn't be a deck there. Because we're building a Victorian-style house with a gable, and it should reflect. How a
Sorry,
single-
I've just approved so many decks over the years that
It
people
should-
want to see, they want to see the ocean.
It should reflect the way a Victorian single-story house should look.
Except for that it's an in-house.
But to go back to the scale thing, you don't think that the deck it's overhanging the roof. It's just
I
not-
feel like if it was brown or some kind of natural color, it would just be like a very Mendocino house. But
That's,
Yes.
I think
And I do want to also just clarify that all the examples are not commercial. The one next to the Egan building is not commercial.
the
The
one
one in the center.
under
The one in the center. Planner Waldman, and then we'll.
One in the center, the deck is within the gable roof. It's
Okay.
the only one that shows that.
Okay, hold on one sec. Go ahead, Senator Waldman.
If I may, if I understand the review board guidelines, the findings that staff, reviews for recommendations for projects for consistency with the guidelines and with the, so with the zoning code, chapter 20.760, and the appendices of the review board guidelines, the deck, if the deck material is not white, it will be the only building on Ukiah Street North, on that block between Lansing Street and Ford, that does not have painted exterior features. It would be the only building that has natural wood
Right.
decking. Majority of the sites in that block, from Lansing Street to Ford Street, on Ukiah and Capella Street, majority of the buildings are set closer to one street than the other, and they are split. The parcel right next door is a very unique development. They have the same size structure of square footage, but it is a smaller footprint. It is pushed in the back with the intent to be able to develop a commercial space in the front on the commercial side of the property. This site eliminates the future development of a commercial building towards the front of Ukiah Street by pushing the house into the center. The exterior finishes would not be consistent with any of those design guidelines if it was an unfinished wood color, and it would create a black line through with the white finish, it is contrasting, and it creates a dark hard line through the middle of the building, and staff would not be able to say that that is consistent with the surroundings. Now, the board can make exceptions to the rules, but that is not consistent with those guidelines. So making,
Can I make it?
so I feel that for the record of reviewing those guidelines, that is creating more of a further separation from the surrounding buildings on the block itself, let alone the town of Mendocino. And all of the pictures are painted, with the exception in the pictures that are presented to us today, all of them are painted with the exception of the building that is on the corner, the red 3-story building, where none of its railings are white, but they are the building is a darker color. It is not a bright white building with a dark unfinished wood. That essentially the unfinished wood will become a dark gray.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
for the record.
Deidre and I saw Lane, so we have a comment after yours. Bill?
My neighbors across the street have an unpainted deck, and I have to admit, mine is unpainted and has been for years. Mine was in the summer of 42 movie. And it's not painted, we don't really notice it. My house was built in 1882.
But I am persuaded by that when I think of Ukiah Street. I'm persuaded by that, but Lane, would you mind stating your name, because you haven't spoken yet before?
My name is Lane, I work with Tucker Lennox.
Lane, for the record, could you state your last name and please spell it?
Yeah, Royton, Roycman. I just really quick wanted to say that I don't think most of these examples cannot accurately be described as 2-story buildings. These are habitable attic spaces. As you can see that where the deck starts is really close to where the plate light is on the walls. And so this gable here on the Ziegler house is very generous and very large with a 8/12 pitch, and so the window actually, it's very visible above the railing. The railing's not blocking the whole view of that pitch as much as some of these other examples. And I also just want to mention, if it's okay, that right before, or having this all be white was a little bit of a recent change, and at one point, this trim that is below the deck and the posts were natural. However, the railings were made white, and so I feel like that could just be gone to compromise to have the railings still be in the story, and also probably weather better, but having some natural elements that help mitigate that's the deck, and then also just this view is this is we used AI a little bit to help render, and so this isn't exactly correct, and the plan should definitely be referenced first on exactly how the deck is constructed, and so it makes it look like somehow that the deck was beyond the post here, but it wouldn't be like that. It would stack directly above each other, and so the upper deck is no smaller or larger than the bottom deck. And also, just to clarify, there's no wrapping around, it's just the staircase that we have.
Oh, no.
When you say there's no wrapping around, what are you referring to?
I was sort of,
Oh, I'm about the under the lower deck.
Yeah, it sort of appears as if it.
Yeah.
The lower deck,
goes
so
around
the
the edges, but it doesn't.
Right, but she's saying the
See that?
AI kind
It's
of.
only
yeah,
at the decks are only at this one elevation, and there's no wrapping.
The AI wants
Thank you.
Okay, well, let's move back to
Yeah,
conversation.
so we have a motion, but I'm not sure
Nobody's
there's.
actually made a motion yet, it's fine. I don't think
Well, you were the one who
I was about to make a motion, I haven't made a motion.
Okay.
But we're still discussing, okay. So Lane said at one, for a long time actually, that they were, as a compromise, that they really thought it looked good. And I don't know, I guess they have their equipment where they can see, but that the posts were natural color and the decks, the railings were white, which I would feel like that's fine. Okay, that's a compromise. Okay. What do you think?
Just even still feeling like, that you're interested in a different design, if, yeah.
I'm interested in seeing another design for that. I just feel like I want to be cautious, and that another design to have under consideration would help us come to a decision. Basically, I'm not completely. I'm hearing what board member Lopez says about this double decks, and my first impression was that it looks a little southern. It has a southern flair with a lot of deck and a lot of entrances, wide entrances, and even it's just plain posts going up, not pillars, but it's that southern style of the pillars and then the dome. There's nothing wrong with that, but it is kind of a high traffic location. Just want to be a little more cautious with the design and see if there's other ways to reduce that upper balcony. To have it more in the vernacular of the town. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, so. I'm just gonna say that this isn't, how I was hoping that it would go, just because I know that the applicants have really, they have done what we want.
So
I just wanna say they've done what we want applicants to do, which is to come ahead of time, but I understand that we weren't able to get there. So my understanding is that the applicants would like to have a continuance.
Yes, but many have been sitting here sketching over the design, I'm chopping in. I'm just curious, just to get some direction, my first idea is to just change the staircase up, because it seems like it's bringing up horizontal for us too much, so
Can we see your drawing?
if it didn't read, so from here, if you're not gonna see You don't see it there, you hardly see these.
It's a dim, right? I'm not imagining that.
May I turn the light on?
Yes,
Yeah.
It's gonna get bright.
I moved it over here, I'm trying to look at this. So if I can move the staircase here and now, I move the staircase and get rid of it.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay, get rid of the staircase there.
Rid of the staircase, if we can go to the garage. I'm trying to figure out how to get up here without having it with the weird thing, the pedestal. The funny thing about this lot is it's a three-sided lot, and we're looking at this building in a sculptural way. And so tucking the stairs behind the garden shed kind of screened it, I thought. And another thought is maybe putting in some screen trees. I know I've done that before, and people plant them, they don't, so it just depends. But if we move this staircase to the front,
Are you talking about the staircase to the
She's
upper
over this
balcony?
picture.
yeah, the staircase to the upper balcony.
Okay, so you're saying you're moving it this way?
No,
Let's get
we
rid of
could
it.
go here, so here's my sketching. So yes, it would go out the door and we go up, and we still have to tow a little bit, but it's not as much, so bringing it out, the downside is I'll hold it down.
Would it just be a vertical staircase with no landing?
Well, no, I think it's a scissor, but I'm trying to keep, I think it's important to keep the symmetry. So I'm trying to keep the symmetry and still put a staircase that's not continuing the line of the railing. Because I hear what Julian's saying about the line of the railing appearing too long. And I think part of that is because the railing at the top of the stairs that just set back is reading as all the way across.
There's no way of you bumping this out a little bit further and making the staircase? I mean, all,
We're
Getting rid of the chest.
the staircase inside, I'm saying.
And adding a
there's
stairway
no
That's what I'm saying, bump that, no.
here.
just
that
go
goes
up
to the
and
top.
go up the stairs. I think
So it would be like some stairway coming out from the front.
Which design would come up 8 steps out
Okay,
yes.
We're not able to record
Right,
or,
or
or monitor the conversation for the record.
Yes.
Should there be any changes, and
So then
I'm
I'm
Have you
happy.
opened the stairway?
Okay, so the applicants are asking for a continuance, which would be to a date certain, which would be June 1st, not earlier than June 1st. If the applicants weren't ready by then, that would be up to them.
if I may,
I-
Chair,
And
I'm
I just
sorry.
want to clarify that we can't discuss this amongst ourselves because it would be a Brown Act violation, but I don't think there's anything stopping the applicant from reaching out to the board members that weren't supportive. Just thought I'd say that. Go ahead, Lucy.
If I may, through the chair. The answer to the second part of your statement is, individually, that would not be a violation of the Brown Act. No decision can be made, and no more than 2 board members, present in that conversation. The first part is it needs to be a date certain, otherwise there are additional fees incurred. And so if, the applicant wanted to say June 1st, which I heard them say, they could have a submittal into planning and building services, and staff can present those revisions at that time, but if they are not ready, staff can memorandize the item on the agenda for a future date certain, to continue that noticing process so that they're not incurred on noticing fees. If the agent has any questions about that, if you weren't able to get the design in before the respectable dates for the June.
So what would the cutoff date be for June?
I do not have the calendar in front of me, but it's typically 55 days, which means very soon. It could be worked with it being a memorandum, so it could be a 20-day period. So the beginning part of May, staff may be able to work that into the schedule. It depends on what the revisions are. If the application came in with the revisions on let's say May 20th, staff wouldn't have time to do proper noticing, but staff could prepare a memorandum and say, this date was missed. For the record, we're gonna go to July.
We'll read it.
Okay.
I just wanted to comment too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of feel like the board decided that, I know that planning has an idea that in the future, that they may want to build a business, so but it's not really the guideline on this particular lot. Because down the line, somebody else might want to build a business, and I don't think that that's really our purview. It's their property, and if they want to put their house in the middle of their property, I feel like they can put their house wherever they want to put their house.
Yeah, I think that was just an acknowledgement of the zoning, like as applicant said, they no intention of doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody that can.
Okay, so what has to happen for a continuance to a date certain?
End of discussion, the applicant has requested a continuance for a date certain of June 1st.
And hopefully we'll have a full complement of board members at that time. And hopefully Alan will listen to the minutes of this and get brought up to speed. Okay, thank you guys for your patience.
Sorry, we couldn't make a decision tonight. Yeah.
We'll be back.
Yes, you will. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
we're gonna take a 5-minute break, and hopefully then we can come back. We don't have much
We don't
other.
have much else.
Else,
We
so-
just power through.
Wrap it up. Oh, very much.
Are you right?
Can you hold it? Or-
Oh, you feel bad?
It was-
Oh,
it was-
oh,
yeah,
sorry,
we're
sorry.
just gonna take a 5-minute break. We're gonna take a 5-minute break. Yes.
Thank you. So we're gonna take a break at 7:42 p.m.
But we don't have 5 minutes, we should be able to. We should be able to
We're
wrap
taking a
that.
5-minute break.
Thank you.
Is that the one that's the inspiration of Judy? No, which one? Oh, next to the one next to.
What did you do with Mary Ann?
My stepbrother lives in Germany, and his entire German winter
On Albion Street.
He's been in Germany for 20 years and he's just over it, so he rents an Airbnb somewhere nice.
This
Mary
Mary
Ann's
Ann,
sunshine.
Washington, right?
No, it's off the coast of Morocco. Yeah, it's a Spanish colony.
Oh, that
It
Mary Ann.
just happened, so it's like it
Staircase.
really seems like the Hawaii of Europe. Like,
Except
it's
for
like
5 hours.
it's a 5 hour flight from, I went from Zurich.
I know, it's.
There wasn't another, I met one other American in 10 days. It's all like German and.
We're afraid to go anywhere. We're afraid everybody hates
It was.
us.
I know, that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I know.
It's funny.
It's people are so afraid. They understand that we're individuals. Yeah, it was cool. The only bummer is that it was not sunny. Like,
Yeah,
sure.
Second
Morocco,
Morocco,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, little white
My
dresses.
hotel had a rooftop terrace. My hotel was so cute and it's affordable. It was like, it's like €100 for nice hotel.
Yeah.
On the ocean. It was great, but
That's really fun.
yeah, it was. I felt like I
And you guys had tries of different food too.
Yeah, it was cool, and like there was a camping gardens, and then we went to a town that really felt like Spain, like cool architecture, with libraries and modern.
But, you know,
Yeah, something that kind of looks like the Sydney Opera House,
you could do
but
it.
then at the end I went down to the southern part of the island, which is just like spring break. It was so not my scene, just like resorts. Resorts and like groves, getting drunk, I was like, oh, thank you. Whereas like the other parts had a little more interest.
Sure, yeah.
Hopefully that's warm again, go somewhere warm. And it was warmer and beautiful here, so it's actually really nice to come out.
Oh, good, I'm glad you came back. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna, close enough, the 5 minutes, we're gonna come back to order. At 7:44. At 7:44, where are we? Agenda item number 9, matters from the board. Are there any topics that anyone has to report or give direction on?
I think it's fun.
I have one item from the board. I've been asked by the,
Would you be for the chair?
yeah, for the chair. I have been contacted by the public asking about our pest-proof trash cans and when they are going to be,
Yeah, I've been hearing questions about that too.
people are noticing apparently Fort Bragg has them. So, hopefully we can get some feedback from
I can address that.
Ted?
you.
Yeah.
know,
Ted told me, they're on order and he's expecting it within the next couple of weeks, so.
Walked out by the trailer.
He just told me this like a week ago.
Okay.
So he's working on it.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. He is working on it.
Any other items for the board? Okay. Put in the chair. Members and staff, seeing none, do you have any?
There's another agenda item on the agenda, and it's item number 9A, and the board asked for the county to bring forward the discussion of sidewalks, walkways, landscaping, trees, and the Mendocino Historical Review Board purview. And that was asked at the last MHRB hearing. And so staff has prepared a memorandum that is attached with the definitions within the town of Mendocino's guideline, the Mendocino Town Plan, and as well as the zoning regulations. And the specifically definitions, what is exempt, what is not exempt, and what the standards are underneath the review for guidelines. And so
I'm not
that
writing that, I'm so sorry.
is for the record, that item is 9A, and this is for information that was requested by the board.
So it was requested because there was
If we may have shared,
so it was requested because Ishvi had a stop work order on his,
Correct,
and he said it was because of flagstone and on
correct.
whatever the number 46A5, I guess, which is, or yes, the sidewalks of brick, flagstone, or board are allowed. So what's going on with the whole? Was that because of the county work permit or something? Is that why he got stopped? Do we know why?
yes, we do know why, and the material is consistent with the guidelines, but there was not the necessary permits
Oh,
approved
God.
by the review board.
To put down a freaking walkway? Are you serious?
I know.
So why did
So
that
hold on
just-
1 second, if we could let us. And I apologize, I have not been able to connect.
Yeah, I
to
can't
bring
find
that
a
up right now.
memorandum either, but I believe
It's
it's
just,
So we
it's
should
just
bring it up after,
it's the
but
code.
oh,
It's the county code.
can I ask a quick question? I thought landscaping is not part of our purview, is it because it's a commercial thing?
So thus the memorandum talks about what is requiring approval by the board
Yeah.
in Zone A, and section 20.76030E specifically says walkways and driveways require the review board guidelines or review board approval, as well as that same section, item number K, says any construction related to landscaping in excess of 6 feet in height, which is not HB's project specifically. There is exemptions allowed under 20.760.040 that say reconstruction of an existing walkway and immediate area and exact replication of the undamaged original sidewalk and immediate area. And the the walkway area that is proposed or that was put on the work order was not existing. Therefore, it requires MHRB approval, and staff has received an MHRB application, and it will be coming to you at the next available hearing, I believe in June, for that project.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for the memo.
But the materials, to Chair Ruby, or to Vice Chair's questions, the materials are consistent with the guidelines. There's not a variance, but the existing walkways were not there prior.
Okay.
It's crazy.
Thank you for the, now I have one other question.
Sidewalks,
Oh, no, I have a question about the next meeting. So, when you were saying June 1st, is that because we don't have anything for May, or is May already booked?
are you referring to the sidewalk walkway hearing?
No.
Are you referring to the revised application date recommendation for June 1st? Are you saying, we
I
do
just
have
wondering-
items for May 6th, as far as I know.
So, as far as we know, the May meeting is on and there's items to be reviewed. Okay.
As far as, we will not have a confirmed date until 10 days prior, but hopefully.
Okay, I just wanted to check
One
on
question
that.
about the sidewalks. So if I have a house in town and I have like a 10-foot walk to the, let's say, trash area, my trash area, and there's no walkway there. So if I go to the hardware store and I throw a rock down to make it a walkway, I have to get a county permit?
So if you were to make an existing, or.
No, not existing, it's just like grass.
If you were to make a new walkway, or if you're to make a new walkway, you would be required to come to the MHRB, board for approval.
So this is just gravel?
Okay, it's good to know, and
I do have one question.
I'm not sure how that we would go about changing that then.
I have a question for planning, so referring back to the, it seems like newly created fees for revision, so if you could explain that, okay, because that wasn't before, and I do know that planning and building has had a substantial increase in fees recently that we don't know about because we're volunteers. So just for my own knowledge, so before someone could do a revision and come back and not have to pay, and then my ears perked up when you said they might even have to pay the full fee again, $2,300 or something, so if you could address
Just the
that.
cost recovery thing?
Right. But if it's a revision and they've already done all that, how much of that is, so I was just wondering.
Good. Attorney through the chair, great question. So the Board of Supervisors directed Planning and Building Services to pay the cost recovery in 2023, and it went into effect, I believe, in June of 2023. I can double check the dates to verify that. It's a rough estimate. And so what the Board of Supervisors directed Planning and Building Services is that all discretionary permits, they have a base fee that is requested per their adopted fee schedule. And staff is tracking every minute of a project on a fee sheet. And when we hit 80% per the Board of Supervisors cost recovery order, we send a correction letter and request a 50% deposit. We continue with moving on the project, and if we hit that 50% consumption, we keep going. And this project has already hit the 80% mark, and it may have exceeded it because of staff's ability to track before 80%, and so staff did exceed the 80% for this project. So the applicant has already paid for the 50% cost recovery, and if their project had been approved today, there would be no more additional fees to hold this hearing, issue the permit, and the action letter, which is standard for after a hearing is issued. And then immaterial amendments that come after the permit has been issued, we haven't adopted a fee for that. But because this project is continuing to a date certain, staff will be
They're gonna get charged more.
looking at it more.
Nice.
And so they'll be asked another 50% deposit. And then they are allowed, after it's all said and done, to ask for a refund, which we have done that process also. I will add for the record is some sign permits have been exceeding the cost exponentially. And part of it is because some sites have, let's say, for example, 10 sign permits. Or all of their permit history is 30 years old, and they have 20 NHRB permit files on the site. And the time to review everything is exceeding the cost allowed for signs, and the Board of Supervisors, I believe tomorrow is, I believe there is supposed to be an agenda item for the board, that planning and building is actually increasing the sign fees because of how the cost recovery is going. And so it is an order from the Board of Supervisors. It is a valid question, and staff is explaining it to the applicants, and it's already been explained to these applicants, and so continuance, it will have to be good.
I'm gonna,
It just
I've got
seems to
a
me
question
that-
about that sign permit.
Yeah, it seems to me, and like, if we want to discuss this too much more, we should probably agendize it, but it seems to me that we are putting on the applicant, like, if an applicant wants to do a sign, it's not their fault that there's been other signs, like 10 signs in the past. And so we are like burdening them for previous things that aren't necessarily relevant to the current application.
It really depends on the site, because some sites have had repetitive permits for development, and the amount of work has already been done in like recent years. The time to go back 30 years when there's been signed copies that have been exempt, there hasn't been the need for a staff report and evaluation of all the conditions of approval on the previous permits. It's variable. I've had the signed permits cost $700, and I've had them cost $300 just for planning and building services.
Because
I'd like to address that somewhat too, if you may, to the chair. So, when I first came on this board, I couldn't believe how much money that they were charging for the sign. I was just floored. And at the time, they were printing out at least this thick or more on signs, because they were giving all the historic buildings and nature of every building around there. And somehow we worked, I think, through Brent Schultz and Juliana Cherry to get it down to a manageable thing, because really, if you have a building and they want a sign, it doesn't really matter about all the other buildings and all their history. It just was superfluous, and they were just doing, spitting out literally fatter than this for like a sign, and it was just crazy, because we're asking, the MHRB board is being asked to approve a sign for a building, and what that does, if their fees are so expensive, is it encourages them to either A, not get a sign, or B, put a sign up and not come through the board, because they cannot afford it. And I don't think that's the purpose of the board. And I know that in Point Arena, that they have a sign fee for like, I don't know, $100 or something. And so I don't think that a sign application fee should depend on how many signs that building has had. It doesn't matter. What they're asking for is, this is the sign I want today. So we should look at the sign. At first, it's a consent item, and then if it comes off, well, then we can discuss the sign. But if there's already been a sign in that spot, I don't see why there has to be a variable rate for people who want to install a sign. We should be encouraging people to come before the board.
Right.
Get masses, get in volume rather than
Right.
in trying to squeeze people for, if they want to open up a new business for their sign. So that's
If
what I
the
think
board
about it.
members have feelings about this, you were saying that the supervisors are dealing with this soon, like, could we email them and say like, we think this is silly?
So I believe that the fee agenda for NHRB signs is tomorrow, but I'd have to look at the agenda to really actually say it's tomorrow. But there is fees going to be propose to the board either at tomorrow's hearing or the next one, where the board will consider the fee adjustments, and the only one going up is the second.
Yeah.
There are other proposals for.
So is it available by Zoom? A Zoom
The
meeting?
board of supervisors meeting?
Then you can call
every-
in from Zoom?
Every public hearing, the board of supervisors is available
So you
for
can
that.
call in tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Thank you very much.
And it may be an agenda item that's on the planning and building services, on the board of supervisors agendas.
Okay, I'll look, I get those emails.
Or if you email me, I will find the agenda item, so and email you the hearing packet, and say Zoom in at this time, or this
Oh,
is the
great.
item.
Okay.
If you email me before 9 a.m., I would be
Okay.
glad to do that.
I'm available tomorrow, but I also know that sometimes they'll approve fee changes and then it, like, they have to wait X amount of days before it goes into effect, like they,
I know, but
vote and they have no
they
way, so-
actually speak up.
yeah, I'm just saying, it's not good. So
Right.
that's silly.
Okay.
Okay, I am hoping we can wrap this up,
Great, I would like to go to matters from staff.
okay?
And I would like to say that today is an exceptional example of how difficult it is to record minutes of what the board's directions are, especially when the agent came up to the board and was having individual presentations to you. Staff did not see what they were proposing, and that is for the record, and it is exceptionally hard to understand the intent of the review board when that is going on. And I apologize for stepping in and asking for some order. That is not my responsibility, that is the chair's responsibility. But today was a great example of how we could work on our communication levels for the record. And that is, I would just like to request that conscientiously. And then that's all that the staff has.
Okay, thank you. And I do know that I imagine it must be quite hard, but I also know that we have, like, the minutes. I don't think that will be in the minutes, right? It'll say,
It will be for the record
Yeah.
on YouTube and in the audio. And I don't think that I would be able to decipher anything that the agent was representing if asked.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be able to decipher what each one of you were saying all at the same time.
got it.
And so, I do
That would be
request,
helpful if
it
we
would be
could, yes.
helpful for when the public says they want to hear this meeting
Yeah.
and they hear it.
Yes.
And I apologize if I am too aggressive in my request in that manner. I believe
worry
that
about
we're
that.
at item 12 now.
Yes, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you guys, and I will see you in May.
So I guess that we can, if we have a concern about signs, we can email Ed Williams tonight.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, or text him. It's quite responsive.